One sentence can change an entire outcome. One sentence can change someone's future, or better, what they decide, let alone one conversation. And sometimes it's even only one word. So how intentional are you when it comes to conversations? And do you, when you talk about intent, actually have an intention? So how intentional are you with intent? So this live is inspired by a conversation I just had with Bonnie and Terry and a lot of other people about is it intention or do people have an agenda? And I was thinking about it and I was like, yeah, but how do we actually talk to other people? And what I've noticed is that we usually do not think about how we talk to other people. And this can have such an immense impact on them. Because, let me give you an example. Like 3 decades ago, 3.5, I was on a train. I think I was either going to college or I was going to an employer, not sure. And I met the same people every day because I would go there on the same time. And then I was pretty young, around my 20s. And someone said to me, are you aware of the negativity in your voice? And basically what he said was that I was always complaining. So this guy was a little bit older. I was still living at home. And I really had to think about it. And quite honestly, it was probably the same thing as what I did too, if you want to look at it that way, someone else when I was in elementary school, because I still remember that day that I said to that guy, how come you're always smiling? And both were connected, of course, because I didn't know how to smile. I didn't know how to make something positive of things because I wasn't taught to do so. But the mere fact that someone said to me, are you aware that you are almost always talking negatively and complaining, that made a huge difference for me. So nowadays, when I talk to people, I'm aware that, well, actually, it's not even that I'm aware that I cannot complain all the time. It's not any longer in my system, which has to do with the surroundings and the people I surround myself with. So when I was still younger and I was still living at home, I didn't have any conversations related to growth or what I wanted to achieve. You know, I went to the Academy of Arts. That was one. And the other one was I went up and I started working, which I did in the year before I went to the Academy of Arts. And at some point in time, I just had to go to a different city. And I just wasn't aware. I wasn't aware of what was expected from me. I wasn't aware of what was right or what was wrong. And it wasn't even that I was wrong with what I was saying. It was just, I was being me. It was the unfiltered version of me. And especially it was the unintentional version of me. So fast forwarding, now I'm here and I've got a number of roles, but they're all intertwined. We have the role of being a friend. And then we have the role of being the coach or the therapist, which basically is linked together. And then there's the role of doing stuff with other people. And here's the thing. All of them require something differently. And to start with the maybe not so easy one, the role when it comes to being a friend, well, here's the thing. When I have a role, and I don't mean the role of being a friend, but when I have the role of being a trainer, being the therapist or the coach, like I said, I've combined the whole lot together. So I'm a mixture of listening to people, but also explaining things, teaching them things, pushing them forward, making them see, making them aware of what they are doing, and asking them what they are going to do about it. So the latter may be old style coaching, but I still believe that I can summon people to do something, but if they don't want to do it, it won't work. But I can find out what they should be doing and what they're willing to do. And that's where explanation and training comes into place. And yes, I do believe that the answers basically pop up when people start talking about themselves. And by asking them questions and going deeper and deeper and deeper, I usually get to the bottom of why they want something, why they don't want something. Anyway, I know my role when I'm a coach. But when I'm a friend, it's a little bit harder. And if it's just casual friends or good friends, that's probably pretty much doable. But then, whenever I'm in a bigger company, then it becomes harder for me. So I'm very good when it comes to one-on-one conversations. But when it comes to me being in a group and I don't have a specific role, that can be hard, especially being a bystander. So at some point it's like, am I going to be the observer, or am I going to be someone who actually wants to join in and actually say something? Well, I told you before, I've been doing this live with Terry and Bunny, and well, Mary and Alain were there too, so there were a lot of people. And the moment that I'm a guest on someone's show, I am aware that they basically are in charge. So they lead the conversation, I listen, and there are a lot of things, going on in my mind. I might write things down, probably a lot of things. And in doing so, I will want to say something, express something, and I know, especially on that show, that at some point they will ask me for my opinion. And that makes it easy, because I know my role and I know what's expected from me. But when I don't, that's a whole different ballgame. And, I'm not always the best when it comes to listening. It all depends on my mood and the energy level. But here's the thing. When I go to that show and we're talking about attention, then I'll skip straight to point number 3. This is also about, what do I want to gain? What do I want to get out of it? And thank you, Terry. Thank you. And I know that when I have that conversation, and specifically, and Terry provides me with other things than Bunny does, but Terry and I, we can go really like boom, 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 together, especially when we have conversations one-on-one. And what I love about Bunny is, besides that, we sort of have a similar background. And then I'm talking, when it comes to spirituality and all that stuff, she helps me when I'm searching for words. And I can't say anything else. I totally love that when she's helping me out and she sees I'm struggling for things. So when I go on their show, I know that they know certain things I do not know. I mean, if I listen to Terry, and I don't know if you've ever been on his shows, but if you listen to him, he's got this amazing speaking voice. And he knows how to get to the essential parts of something and then repeat and tell us. And he does it in a way with intonation and all that you're prone to listen. That's Terry. He's amazing that way. And again, each have their qualities. Like, for instance, when I see Mary on the show, she's got this huge smile. I love her just for seeing her with that smile. So everyone, again, has their qualities. But again, the thing is, what do you bring from the table? Bring to the table? What can people expect from you? And then, what do you really want to get out of it? So, getting back to the show, which was about intention, I always know that when I go there, I have a fun time. There's always something I can listen to, I can pick up. And actually, I wanted some inspiration to do my own life. That's as simple as it was. I wanted to be able to do my own life. And I always know that when I'm on someone else's show, I always get inspiration. But I also know that, at one point or another, I can actually, well, Terry's going to be here, I can learn something from. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's true. That's so, I can do something with it. Hi, Terry.
Hey.
Yeah, you're the guy I've been talking about. Of course, I also said something about Bonnie, but I said a lot about you. Did you hear it?
I did. I've been here listening for about the last, I don't know, 5 minutes or so.
Okay.
I love it. I love talking with you. I love being on your show as well too. And we've talked about this before, to where I love how you're inquisitive and you dive deep into your curious side and this, that, and the other. I mean, you're truly phenomenal for that. And that's what I love about you. And it's one of those things to where you have value. You are very smart. And it's one of those things that when you bring that to the table, when you share your voice, you give other people a voice as well too. And that's one of the powers of meeting people on platforms like this right here, is that you're able to learn. Now, you touched on something I really want to bring to the attention, because I don't think it got enough love, and that's when you're able to listen to others, you can learn, and you can put within your toolkit the things that will help sharpen your tools and the way that you present and the way that you do things. And you got to try those things, because I didn't get where I'm at by just being Terry. I watched, I learned, I listened, I tried a few things. Well, that worked, that didn't work, that sucked, I'm never going to do that again. It's kind of one of those things to where as you try those things, you will start to get comfortable in your own voice. You will, I heard you mention intonation and how I speak and this, that, and the other.
Oh yeah,
that
absolutely.
that took practice. That took trying different things. Not necessarily in public, but, in front of a mirror, behind closed doors. It's like, okay, well, what if I do this right here? How does this sound? How does that sound? What about this? What about that? I don't know. It's kind of one of those things to where you have to practice. You have to try it out and see how it works, how it fits. And what you put out there within the world and how you put it out there, it's going to connect with the right person at the right time when they need it most.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And I love what you just explained, because I didn't know that how you came to be, the way you were speaking. And this, even when I'm on my own show, I'm like, when you finish, I'm like, oh, that's good enough. I don't need to top that because it's my show.
Yeah.
I just love the way you do it. And I love the brainstorming with you. That's also one of those things. So.
Yeah.
So the things I was talking about is, okay, what is your intention when you go into a conversation? And 3 reasons why to be more intentional in a conversation. So actually, I started out with one word or one sentence can change someone's entire life. I don't know if you were already around. I don't think you were. But let's be honest. Lots of people don't think about it, that when they talk to someone else and they respond, that this actually may change someone forever.
And most people are in response mode when they really should be in listen mode. It's one of those things to where you don't listen to respond, you listen to learn. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people that are out there that are just listening to respond. And we really need to listen and learn a lot more, because you'll really understand things from a different perspective if you just allow people to speak, sometimes it's one of those things that you can totally destroy a conversation if you don't listen.
Yeah, and it's not just about destroying the conversation. We can actually change something in the mind or in the mindset of the other person, and that can be positively or it can be negatively. And
Mhm.
hopefully it's of course positively, but it's by just blurting out stuff that we actually can do a lot of damage, which we cannot, we can't take
Mhm.
it back anymore once it's said. And
Mhm.
here's the thing: when we start to blurt out things and we don't really think about it, we usually don't remember what we've said. But the other one who was on the receiving end, they might like for the rest of their life be influenced by it and maybe get discouraged to do something or maybe get encouraged to do something that's even better, of course.
Mm.
um, so that's why intonation, maybe just one sentence, really listening, picking up on what is it, what the other one needs, is
Mhm.
so important.
I like that you use the word encouraged. I would even go as far as using the word empowered. And it's one of
Yeah.
those things that when you cut people off without giving them the opportunity to get their full thoughts or ideas out there, you really discourage them away from even wanting to speak or share their thoughts. And next, and I've been on those types of shows. I've been in those types of conversations where it's like, well, hey Terry, what are your thoughts? I ain't got nothing for you, man. I got no thoughts. I'm sorry. It's kind of one of those things to where you have to have that empathy, that understanding, and that curiosity. That's once again, that's what I love about you. You have that curiosity, and then you're able to take that and shape some of those tough questions to really kind of get after that. And sometimes those can kind of, it's like, I can't resonate with that. And that's where as like being a host of a show, being I guess the conversation starter, if you will, that's where it's powerful to understand how to restate certain things. It's like, hey, could you form that in the form of a question? Well, yes, I can. How about this? And it's kind of one of those things where sometimes you may have to either repeat yourself, sometimes you may have to like ask it in the form of a question, sometimes you may have to tell a story or a journey to get people to understand, because you've heard me say this, different people understand different things differently, and sometimes I can say something that may go completely over your head. That's where me as the person on the opposite side have to understand, oh, wait a second, he didn't get that, oh, wait a second, she didn't get that, whatever the case may be, and just take a step back from my own ego, from my own message, from my own intent, from my own um, there's another word that I'm looking for, agenda, so to speak, to understand, hey, maybe I need to slow down so that a way this conversation can go in a different direction. It's kind of one of those, you have to be able to understand that.
Yeah, that's so true. And there's one thing when you're on a show, and especially
Mm-hmm.
if you're on your own show or someone else's show,
Mm-hmm.
but there is a totally different um, vibe when it comes to one-on-one conversation, which nothing has to do with the show, but just casual conversation or
Yeah.
a coaching conversation or whatever it
Mm-hmm.
is. And I've noticed that there are people out there, and when I say I don't understand it, they literally, and it's like three times they say the same thing, and probably after the second time I already say, whether it's in, and when it's in text, I'll say, yeah, you can copy and paste the same thing. That's not going to work. I'm not going to understand it any better.
Yeah.
And when I'm talking to them after three times, I will still say, listen, I want to understand you, and
Mm-hmm.
don't give up on me just because I don't understand you straight away.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing: it can go this way, and I go in like people. They're like, why does she come up with all these questions? What does she want? And well, in all fairness, I just want to understand what that person is talking about,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it's hard for people um, to have
Yeah.
that conversation because it also in order to acquire something and to get the response you want, you also need to be able to listen
Mm-hmm.
and
You,
and and
you,
actually say what you want.
some people, I think that, and I mean this in the best of ways. Some people are afraid of being vulnerable and transparent, because it may incriminate them.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I'm
And
just going to put it like that. And it's one of those things. It's like, look, if there are certain buttons that get pushed, and I understand that, I have my triggers as well too, and it's one of those things to where to control a conversation, you will. Let me rephrase it this way: you are in charge of what you say and what you do in this, set, and the other. Whether it's a speaking, thing, whether it's public, whether it's a show, whether it's a one-on-one conversation, whether it's coaching, whether it's therapy, whatever the case may be, you are in charge of what you say. And there are some people that, bottom line up front, they got a fire hose for a mouth. Whereas there's other people that, they're reserved, they're introverted, so to speak. So it's that whole introversion versus extroversion kind of a thing. And you get people that are introverted that don't want to share certain things. And you get people that are extroverted that just want to tell you everything. It's like, bro, too much, TMI, TMI, kind of a thing. And it's kind of one of those things. And those make for fun conversations, but it also, it also kind of leads you down a lot of rabbit holes that maybe is not important either. And, and that's really the job of both people to really, especially from a coaching perspective, because you and I both, we coach people, we train, we teach, we mentor people. It's oftentimes the things that are not said that's important versus the things that are said. And sometimes you have to be able to listen for those important things as a coach to say, because you could completely miss the mark and say something completely not even relevant to the thing, and you've lost that person at that moment.
Yeah.
You really have.
And then we go back to intonation, probably pause or the lack of pause.
Mm-hmm.
So when people pause for a long time, there's something they're thinking about. But it's when they actually skip over things, that's an alarm. That's a warning sign when they actually go like, you get them totally different direction.
You know what I look for? I'll tell you what I look for. I look for people that are stammering over their words, or they're looking up into their eyelids, and they're trying to search or find for words. Because that tells me that you don't really, you're either not confident, or you don't have all of the details together, or maybe you've tucked it away so deep that you don't want it to be back out into the open. So there's a lot to unpack with that particular conversation right there. And it's one of those things that I think that there's a degree of all of those depending on who you're talking to.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. I absolutely agree with you. And I know you always say I've got talkative eyebrows because you always also look at eyebrows, which is correct. And here's the thing. And
that's why I wear big glasses. You don't see my eyebrows. But I got a muscly forehead, though. So if you look at the muscles right there, no, I'm just playing.
I love it. But it's it's the way they look at you, it's the intonation, and actually you can actually feel that the energy, if they're interested in listening and capturing something, or if they're like, no, you know what, I'm going to withdraw. Which brings me to the second thing. So one sentence can have like a lasting impact on someone. That's what we basically talked about, or it can bring nothing at all to the other person, and then it's like, okay, why did I actually have that conversation, and do I want to talk with that person ever again? And that leads me to the next one, and that's what's going to happen in the short term or in the long term, because we might be surprised when we run into someone else, or what one conversation can mean to someone and what they might want from you in the long term. So I was totally flabbergasted. I got this call yesterday, and I was like, who's that? Who's that again? And I had put her name in the phone, and it was when I actually picked up, then I saw what it was linked to, and she was the one who delivers the packages right here on this terrain. And she's got a German Shepherd who comes from Spain. Yeah, okay, German Shepherd who comes from Spain. It's the way it is. And we've been talking about dogs and how she picked the dog up and all that stuff. And so she had called me to ask me if I wanted to take care of her shepherd for 2 days. And well, totally came from left field. I mean, I was completely surprised, but I loved the idea. And I was like, and she said, yeah, because when we were talking, and you walked to the door, you opened the door, and she didn't try to run away and run out of the car. So that was her way, how she had picked up on that her dog would feel secure, when I would be there. So I was completely flabbergasted. But it's a way to give an example about we might think that we never see that person again, and have, well, we can have a lasting impact or not. But what if we get to see that person again in the future? And
Hmm.
what would we like to get out of it? So, what's your opinion? Michael says, hello, I can stay. I wanted to pop up and say hello. Hi, Michael.
Hey, Michael. Yeah, so here's the thing. I am totally comfortable with not talking to people ever again. I'm just putting it out there like that. There are some people that I resonate with. There's some people that I do not resonate with, and it's one of those things that whenever you find someone that you can be comfortable with, there's two ways of looking at that. One, that could be really positive because it could lead to great conversations. We resonate with one another. We can relate. We can talk about, like you and I, we could talk about music, for example, and we would have a great conversation based around music. Whereas, somebody else that didn't know a lick about music or anything like that, it would be just completely, from left field. Like, as you say, it's one of those things to where there are certain conversations. I'll put it to you like this: there are certain conversations you just can't have with certain people. Like, for example, friends and family. I can't talk business with friends and family. It won't resonate with them. They could care less. I don't talk about business to my family. I don't talk about business to certain people because they don't get it. They don't understand it. They're not into business. So for me to try to force that issue, it would be a lost cause. I would actually upset them. I was in a
Yeah, absolutely.
conversation. I was in a conversation with a friend of mine the other day. I've known the guy for 20 years, but he got mad because we was in a conversation that I didn't want to be in, but he wanted to have the conversation, so I kept twisting it around back into him and making him take ownership of the things that he was talking about. I was like, dude, after all, you're the one that wants to have this conversation. I don't, you do, but I'm letting from my perspective, he got mad at that. And it was just kind of one of those things that sometimes you just can't have conversations with certain people depending on the topic.
Yeah, that's true. So, do you express it like, okay, dude, you wanted to talk to me? Now I'm asking you the hard questions, and you're just,
Hmm.
turning away and turning it towards me. What do you want from this conversation? What are you after? Do you actually ask?
Hmm. Well, no, he did. He got mad. He basically was like, well, he did. So he was like, why are you putting it back on me? And I was like, well, dude, you're the one asking me the questions. It's like you need to take ownership in the fact that what you're complaining about is actually your fault. And,
Yeah,
and
well,
he and
yeah,
he
that's the way it is.
and he didn't like that. So it was just kind of one of those things to where he didn't own that. And when I ultimately broke it down and told him where my thoughts really were, he was just blown away by it. It was like, ooh, man, I'm sorry for even bringing that up. So it's one of those things where he touched one of my triggers and one of my nerves, and I was trying to deflect it. I was like, without directly saying, dude, I don't want to talk about that. But since you're so adamant about having this conversation, I'm going to twist it back into you, kind of poking fun at you, kind of a thing, in order to avoid having that conversation back on me.
Yeah,
So it was just kind of one of those things to where when we ultimately got to the bottom line of, dude, you just triggered me, and I don't appreciate it, and I don't want to have the conversation, and here's the reason why. And when I was truthful, when I lived in that truth, and I ultimately opened up to him on why I was doing what I was doing, he was taken back by it. I was like, whoa, dude, I'm sorry. I had no idea, and I didn't mean to push any buttons and this, that, and the other. And I was like, now you see why I was trying to put it off on you. You're the one complaining about it, but yet you want to push it off on me without knowing what my circumstances are.
yeah, yeah, that's so true, and that's why it's so important to, when those triggers are there,
Mm-hmm.
to say like instantly, I appreciate what you're doing, but I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to have this conversation because
Yeah.
when it was literally like I was talking to someone, well, it was earlier today actually, and we had been through a lot. She had bought a house or she had rented a house, years ago, and it was under very difficult circumstances for her. You know,
Hmm.
she's disabled and all that stuff, and you know, it was like it was her first house. She was starting to live on her own, and she had to learn to stand up to people, not be the
Hmm.
victim, but literally stand up to people and not feel
Hmm.
like she was brushed off.
Hmm.
And the moment that she started talking about, oh, I'm getting money back, it was like, oh, okay. And then there I was, and I could just see the journey, you know, everything we've been through. Well, how I went there in the middle of the night to pick her up to make sure that she got fed, and that I literally put her down in bed so she was in care facility, and
Hmm.
made sure that you know she was comfortable. And I didn't want to go there, you know? I
Hmm.
absolutely didn't want to go there. So at some point I said, you know what? I don't want to talk about this because this is bringing back memories and it's bringing me to
Yeah.
places where I haven't been for years. And I would like to keep it that way.
Hmm.
And for her, that was so weird that she said, oh, so we're going to end this conversation. And so I asked her one more thing, and because I asked her one more thing, she was totally like, "But you wanted to end this conversation." I said, "Yeah, well, I didn't want to talk about the other thing anymore,
Hmm.
but that doesn't mean that I don't want to know if you are affected by it." So
Hmm.
anyway, it was something which was like it started so innocently, and then it triggered something, like you said, but
Hmm.
I did say it straight away, like, okay, I don't like this, and I felt it, and I was like, mm-mm.
Hmm.
So, and I've learned that people may not like it, but when you are pretty specific and you say it straight away instead of turning around in circles, or as you said, other people might be lying about it. It doesn't work if you try to avoid it by lying or other stuff, or sometimes it's just being pretty much straightforward
Hmm.
actually explains a lot. And you said also when you opened up,
Hmm.
he was blown away.
Hmm. Yeah,
And I guess
it was ultimate. It was that ultimate transparency, that ultimate vulnerability that allowed him to understand that even though he was trying to have a conversation about him, he was really triggering something in me over the topic that was being discussed. So, yeah, I mean, it ended up being a more positive conversation. He ended up apologizing afterwards, and it was one of those things. I mean, I've known the guy for 20 years. We've been best friends for a long time. It's one of those things. And yeah, I mean, it is what it is sometimes, but sometimes you have to be able to, you have to be able to be vulnerable. You have to end up being transparent. Otherwise, the other person will just never know. It's one of those things. And yeah, I mean, it is what it is sometimes.
Yeah, and it's also not just about being open and vulnerable. It's also about
Hmm.
probably setting boundaries, being
Oh, yeah, that's
specific.
a
So
good
one
one.
of the things I know about you is that before you go to bed, you want to end on a positive note.
Yeah.
So I know if I'm going to have a conversation with you, and it's by the time that you are going to sleep, I know that you want to wind down. So I
Yeah.
shouldn't be talking about very difficult topics. So we
Oh,
can
yeah.
talk. Well, there are difficult topics and there are difficult topics. So when it comes to curiosity and challenging one another, we can do that. But
Yeah.
when it comes to things going on in the world, then maybe that's not the best thing. It's
Mhm.
what can we change and what can't we change.
And that comes through understanding. It really does. I mean, the more that you understand about someone, the you know how to navigate those conversations.
Yeah.
It really is. But I do have to go here. Speaking of going and speaking of bedtime, I have to go to bed here in a few minutes. We have some things going on tomorrow with the family. So I just want to say thank you once again for coming on the Unbreakable Stories live stream tonight. Love the shirt. We both still got the shirt on. I'm gonna,
Yeah, there
I gotta
it
jump up and down to show my shirt, but or put my tripod. There we go. Put my tripod down. Kind of like because I got the phone on a tripod here, and
Yeah.
but I just want to say thank you very much. I truly enjoy talking with you, and you're right. It's one of those things to where you're able to take that energy from someone, and although there's certain energies that can be draining, there's certain energies that can be intoxicating as well too.
Yeah,
And
and that's basically the third thing that I wanted to say, which had to do with growth and energy. like, okay, what do we want to get out of a conversation?
Hmm.
And well, I know you and me, we probably want to get some sort of growth or learning something because
Hmm.
we've got a learning mentality, but we also want to have that energy,
Hmm.
like not being drained, but like
Yeah.
feeling vibrant, relaxed, and with a smile.
I love it, and it goes back to one of these things. And you saw this quote that I did the other day. It was like, "I've cried too much in the dark not to smile in the light." And
Yeah,
there are some people that will they're energy vampires. They will truly just drain the energy out of it. Because imagine, look, can you imagine me if I just talked like this and I was just so boring? I was like, oh my goodness, like why are we even talking? I don't even know why we're talking. Like, can you
I
imagine
would
if I
ask
talk
if
like
that's
that?
you. What's wrong with
So,
you?
but here's the thing. There's two sides of that coin. There's two sides of that. Sometimes the energy that I bring is too much for people and it turns them away. That's
Yeah, yeah.
actually could be a good thing, could be a bad thing, could be a good thing. It depends, but it's also one of those things to where, look, if I have to change who I am around everybody, man, that would be too much to keep up with. It would truly be too much to keep up with. And unfortunately, that's kind of a society that we're in these days to where you have different people acting different ways around different people. And I get part of that. I truly do. There's certain people that I act a certain way around when I'm talking to them, and that's fine. That's the energy that I've created with that person. And when you act out of a different way of that, it does kind of cause a little bit of confusion, like you said right there. Like if you saw me acting a certain way, it'd be like, is that you? Like I'm confused. Like wait, what? Kind of a thing. But truly, you it comes down to what it comes down to controlling the conversation, and that's one. The more you know, the more that you can show, and the more that you can, the more that you can kind of dive in, and what you can or cannot do. I got people that there's certain things. Okay, I know I can't have that conversation with this person. I know I can't say this. I know I have to say. I know that. I know how to navigate that, and I truly believe that when you're able to have those transparent, truthful, vulnerable conversations, that's where you really are able to be able to open up more to one another.
Yeah, that's true. And I want to add a little something to it.
Hmm.
Sometimes we are just not capable of
Mm.
giving the other one what they need. So at times I'm so hyper that I'll just go "Ruh, ruh, 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 ruh," and I know I should be listening, but I just can't. I'm just like going, And there are times like I'm
Hmm.
completely drained, and I don't have any energy, and I want to listen, but I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry, but now I need to sleep. I need to rest, and
Hmm.
we'll talk later. And that's, and it's same like when you're on a schedule. Like for instance, you want to, prepare for going to bed and get some sleep. Same story. And of course, then the question becomes, how much are you still capable of listening and giving the other person what you want? But if you're
Hmm.
capable of actually addressing it, that makes
Hmm.
all the difference.
It does. That's a great point right there. It is capable, and when you're fully equipped to handle those types of situations, you will handle them. Otherwise, you will buckle under the pressure.
Yeah, no, that's totally true. So just to get back at it, why should you be intentional when it comes to conversations? One word, one sentence can change it all.
Hmm.
Your energy can make it or break it. Also, what the other wants and what they want to get out of it, they might not even be aware of what they want, what they know, but vice versa, they can have an effect on you. And the question is, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to be open, honest, vulnerable, straightforward? And does the other one appreciate and understand it or not? And last but not least, how do you feel during that conversation and afterwards?
Hmm.
And well, like I said, we've been talking about intention on your show with Bunny, and we had, of course, Mary and Ida and Joyce and Peter, and I'm probably forgetting someone who was
Hmm.
on there. Alain was on there too.
Hmm.
And if people want to see it, they can just go to YouTube, Unbreakable Stories, correct?
Yeah. YouTube.com, Unbreakable Stories. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And for those who want to support and have a story, Bunny actually make those shirts. Yeah, exactly. Jump one more time.
I, let me lean
Jump,
back. I
jump,
gotta lean
jump.
back.
Well, anyway, that's it because it's like almost 5 in the morning here. But I did want to, respond to what you said. I mean, I literally went on the show because I always know I have a good time, especially what we
Mhm.
call the backstage, afterwards. But I also know that there's something, I can reflect on, learn from. And so if people, want to do something a little bit more, we are both coaches. They can come to our shows. You are on Friday, I'm on Wednesday and Monday, and you've got Clubhouse too.
I'm on Clubhouse
Still
every
learning
day.
from you.
Every single day I'm
Exactly.
on Clubhouse. So we go live
Yeah.
on Clubhouse every night between 6 and 6:30, depending on what night we might go live at around 7. Once again, our schedule's been a little hectic here lately because soccer season just started. So our schedule's been a little bit crazy here lately, but we do go live every night in the Unbreakable Stories Club over on Clubhouse. We also go live every Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern. And we've been talking about doing some other shows, and then every now and again we'll have some pop-up shows where it's like, okay, I'm going to go live. Okay, I'm going to stream. Okay, I'm going to do something. And we've had some truly powerful conversations with absolutely amazing people. I mean, we always have Evan on the show, so we always talk to Evan Carmichael. I've had Dame Dash on the show. I've had Sean Swarner on the show. I had truly phenomenal people. I've had the opportunity to talk to David Meltzer, Russell Brunson from ClickFunnels. We've talked to Les Brown. I mean, we've had a lot of amazing people on the show, and oh my goodness, there are some even bigger and better things that are coming. And man, the thing is we want you to join us. We want you to come on over. So once again, whether it's Clubhouse, whether it's YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Unbreakable Stories, we want to share your story. And, it's your story that is powerful. Your story can motivate, inspire, encourage, and empower somebody else from the understanding that if it's possible for you, it's also possible for them. Because here's the deal. You have a voice, and it's through your voice, through your story, that you will give someone else a voice as well too. So speak up so you can speak out. Lexi, thank you very much for tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can't say it any better. I'm someone who gives people a voice. I empower them. I encourage them to speak up and if needed, speak out. You understand it like no other. And like we said, our stories inspire other people. So if people want to get on our shows, leave a comment, do a live with us. They know where to find us, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So
So our website is unbreakablestories.com, and I know that you had some amazing things that you're working on as well too. Especially that little angel right there. When you put that out there into the world, people can take an action and share their voice, share their story, share their support as well too. And that's one of the truly powerful things. I got this little printout here behind me, and I always tell everybody, it's like, look, one of the greatest ways that you can share your support is to just print this out. We have this
yep,
amazing
that's
printout
true.
printout right here that says I am unbreakable, and that's over on our website once again, which is unbreakablestories.com/share. And it's something super simple, super easy to do, and it's one great way in which you can show your support for the things that we're doing with Unbreakable Stories. I know you got your shirt, you've done your printout, we're rocking and rolling. I love it. I 100% love it. Thank you very much, Lexi.
Yes, well, you have a good night's rest, and I'm going to finish off here. And Joyce, yeah, that's awesome. It's amazing, and this is what we do. We inspire people, and we make sure that they can go to that next level where they want to be. And it just requires, and I know it's not easy, being open, honest, and vulnerable. But when you're there, we'll make sure that you're safe and you're good to go.
Awesome.
And
All
with
right,
that being
Lexi.
said, I'll
Awesome.
wish you a
All
good
right.
night.
Thank you very much, Lexi. Have a great night. I always enjoy talking with you.
Yeah, same here, same here. So I'm at the after party from Unbreakable Stories. Yeah, you can see it right here. Unbreakable Stories. Yes, there they are, waving at you. We had some great time. So if you have some time, Go there on Friday. It's at 7 Eastern time, and we'll see you there.